Now, this year, in the middle of 2007, that we heard from the news report that Chinese hackers attacking Pentagons. They attacked the government system in Britain and in Germany. But the U.S. government's reaction is usually, I get a feeling that they play it down. Why is that? It's just because it's not that serious, or what's going on here?
I'm not really certain, but perhaps they just don't want to panic people. So I have, as I said, the pleasure to work with many government employees, and they certainly are aware of these problems. Some of them are almost at the alarmist rate. But to release this type of information and cause everybody panic, I don't know that there's any advantage to that.
Now, in my hand, I have a Times Magazine article that published in September 2007, and there was something that is pretty alarming that when I read this article, and it said that there is one guy called Sami Sadajari, who has been working on cyber defense system for the Pentagon since 1980s, told Congress in testimony on April 25th, 2007, that a mass cyber attack could leave 70% of the U.S. without electrical power for 6 months. That is kind of very serious threat that we are hearing here about.
A lot of this started, the concern back to those SCADA systems with the power plants. There was I believe there was a frontline special about the vulnerability of these systems. Well, the Department of Energy and other power plants have hired government red teams or ethical penetration testers to see if they could break in. And they were 100% successful on every attempt. So someone said, well, what do you mean successful? Define in. And they pointed to some solar mirrors, and they said, well, look at those mirrors. And they were able to make these mirrors dance around. So obviously they were very deep in.
So compared to that, looks like the war in Iraq is a distraction, right?
That's my feeling, and probably many other people's feelings. I think that the war in Iraq is obviously very important, and the oil fields, but the danger that the entire, as I said, most money is transferred electronically. If somebody could take over and hijack the internet, we've got much more serious problems.
Now, as a lot of people know that I'm from China, I know this, that the Chinese army always consider U.S. as their potential enemy in the future, probably over the Taiwan Strait conflict or some other issues, but they always treat the United States as their potential enemy. And do you think so far, because you teach a lot of students from the government and including the people from the Pentagon, do you think that the U.S. government is doing enough to defend our cyber world?
I'm afraid to speak there because I'm not on the inner side, and they can only reveal so much to me.
Okay.
I do have faith in the skill sets of the people that I work with, but are they overwhelmed? And that's my concern, that there's just so much they can do because of that distraction in Iraq and other things that are eating up our resources. So I'm optimistic, but cautiously.
Optimistic but cautious. Now, we have about 3 minutes left. I would like to touch base on your teaching method. I'm reading your bio. It's very interesting. And you are creator of the Cyber Kung Fu Information Security series of training program. I know you are senior Kung Fu instructors as well as the network security instructors. And I keep wondering, what has Kung Fu anything to do with the network security here?
I got the idea. I was teaching martial arts, and I was a network operator and instructor teaching Cisco and networking classes. And I had a student study Tai Chi with me, and he was also an information security professional. I said, you should get into this. You know, your teaching methods are already very close to computer security, the way you mix your martial arts ideas in there. So I just started, I came up with this idea, Cyber Kung Fu, and it just kind of popped to me. And it was funny, as I looked at what the word meant, cyber comes from the Greek word kubernon. It does not mean computers, it means to steer. So the important thing in information security, they always say, are the directive controls for somebody to take the helm of the ship and steer it, or governance. Govern comes from the same root word. And another misunderstood word is Kung Fu. Many people think it's some type of martial art, but it literally means something like to spend time and energy on a field, you'll get better. So I just came up with this whole, to mix this concept together to teach people how to defend themselves and to take the wheel, to be the steerer.
All right, I get the idea, but give us an example that how you apply the teaching of Kung Fu to network security. I mean, is there anything connection there other than the theory and the principles?
I also grew up in North Philly and have been involved in a lot of street fights. And one of my favorite examples that I start the class off with is to show people that, you're here, they're the things you know that you know, the things that you know that you don't know. And people warn you, but it's the things that you don't know that are trouble. And I argue, no, that's not true. You left out a Boolean fourth choice. They're the things you think you know turn out to be wrong. So when we watch these ultimate fights, everyone says, oh, you have to fight on the ground. I said, no, that's not the way fights end in the street. They don't tell you, ready, set, go.
Yeah.
Somebody says something like, do you have the time? And when you look down at your watch, they hit you.
Right.
That's the way computer security works. They don't tell you we're attacking. That you think it was a packet from your network, but it turns out you were wrong. It's the things you thought were true.
Surprise attack. That's why you mentioned that the cyber virtual Pearl Harbor, is that what you mean? Like a surprise attack it's the most vulnerable part?
And again, it's those invalid input attacks. It goes back to that. When I thought I was processing the guy's name, what's your name? And they enter in their name. They didn't enter their name. They entered in a SQL command to have me delete everything in my machine or something like that. So it's the things you think you know turn out you're wrong that are the most dangerous.
Application of ancient martial theory into today's technology world. Thank you very much, Larry.
Thank you.